Ambassador, a government-to-government or so-called G2G agreement is being signed between United Kingdom and North Macedonia. A strategic partnership agreement is also expected to be signed between the two countries. From here, I would like to ask you what exactly the agreement, the government-to-government agreement covers, and wouldn't have been more, let's say, logical first to have signed the strategic partnership agreement because it covers the overall future cooperation between UK and North Macedonia.
Thanks very much. It's great to be back on your show. The first thing I think to say is that this is really a pivotal moment in UK-North Macedonia relations. We've had a trade relationship with you, as you know, that is really significant and a fantastic bilateral relationship as close NATO partners. Really, these two documents in which the strategic partnership is the overall framework and the government-to-government agreement is an important step change in our trade and investment relationship are really a step change in our whole bilateral relationship with this country. So it's really exciting. To answer your question directly, I think both governments decided in someone else's capital, fantastic capital, Tirana, in a slightly chaotic format, the EPC, with a lot going on, it didn't feel the right moment to sit down and sign documents. So for both sides, the important thing is that our Prime Ministers came together and announced the strategic partnership. We're taking government officials and the Deputy Prime Minister, joined now I think by Deputy Prime Minister Mejiti. It's fantastic that we've been able to get him along as well to sign the government-to-government this week in the UK. So it's really a sequencing issue. It's a formality to sign the documents, but actually the G2G document is important because it contains the financing component. So that needs to be signed as soon as we can so we can get on with delivering the important trade projects under the G2G.
And what about the strategic partnership?
It's a formality, as I say. It can be signed at any time. My Prime Minister is very happy that I sign it. I think it's going to be difficult in the short term to get the Prime Ministers together again, but it is a formality. So it brings together all of the different aspects of our relationship. It doesn't need to be signed to be in force.
Mm-hmm. So far, details are unknown concerning the G2G agreement between two countries, and let's say, to be blunt, where the money will come from, how much money are we talking about, who will lend the money. So also the interest rates and the repayment period have not been announced. Could you be more precise, because the devil is in the details, as they say? Sure,
very, very happy to be. And as I think you've seen earlier today, a press release from the signing itself, which gives a lot more detail. So let me unpack that for your viewers. The government-to-government agreement is really about a step change in terms of a strategic partnership on investment between our two countries. Now, what that includes is businesses and governments working together in partnership. It includes technical assistance from British government departments to support infrastructure projects, and I think you've heard the government already talking about the two priorities, which are high-speed rail and health infrastructure.
Hospitals.
So what the citizens can really expect from this is high quality and quick infrastructure builds with British expertise built to British standards. And part of the government-to-government partnership that's so exciting is that we'll be bringing in government institutions on our side to support with technical assistance. So for example, we will have NHS specialists working with your government on the hospital build, and we will have the Crossrail Consortium, if the government wants it, we've offered it, which is the consortium that built and designed the very complicated engineering feat of the East-West Rail, London Rail transportation network. We're bringing that technical expertise to bear. On the finance side, as I think you've seen from the announcements from our government, there is a UK export financing envelope which provides the financing agreement. There's a total of £5 billion as an envelope within that agreement, and the government is so far looking at using under that facility around I'm talking in British pounds, but if we convert it to euros, it's a little bit more, around £2 billion of that facility for strategic rail and hospitals. So there's a lot of numbers flying around at the moment, but just that's to be absolutely clear what those numbers mean. And in terms of investment and in terms of building the trade relationship, I mean, first of all, I've had a couple of people say, well, why is the UK doing this right now? What does this matter? We are your second largest investor in this country, and over half of UK trade with the whole of the Western Balkans is with North Macedonia. So from our side, this is about building the trade relationship, about hundreds of £1 of economic benefit to North Macedonia and hundreds of millions of pounds of economic benefit to the UK as well. That's part of the government's growth strategy. It's also part of our improved sort of bilateral partnership offer.
So that leads me to my next question. Is there a sense which British companies are going to apply for this kind of infrastructural projects, railway, health sector, hospitals? Because, to be honest, G2G agreements, according to the British government, are primarily tools that support the British businesses on one side. Yeah. So the question is there interest among specific British companies that would like to work in Macedonia?
Yeah, it's a really good question. To be absolutely honest with you, of course, we would be delighted to see British companies as part of this, and we want to work with British companies to make the strongest possible bid under the G2G arrangement. To access UK export financing, very similar to other OECD export financing schemes, there's a minimum requirement. So it's about 20% minimum required British contract content in any of the deals. The exact details of the procurement and which British companies are part of that and in what form and in what part of the supply chain, that's up to the government. And certainly we've introduced British companies to the government. I can't probably name them now, but as soon as we can, we'll come back to you and we'll be open and transparent. And that's part of the negotiation. But the formal requirements are those. It's the envelope of funding and up to 20% of it has to be British. So it leaves the government plenty of room to decide what's right for the government. Frankly, I think British companies are world class. We have a fantastic offer, and we'd love to see them in the strategic pole position in terms of these agreements.
Yeah, you said there's a big British economic interest in North Macedonia. The country has been part of the visa-free regime with Schengen since 2009. Now we are talking about strategic partnership and even bigger investments of British companies in North Macedonia. But on the other hand, we don't see a visa-free regime for Macedonian citizens. Can we expect any progress on this issue? Because this is a pressing issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'll say, as honestly as I said in the press conference last week with the Prime Minister, as British ambassador, I would love to see a relaxation of the visa regime. You won't be surprised that it's what a lot of people tell me they want. And with such a strong trade relationship that's going to go from strength to strength with this agreement, there are a lot of arguments in for. I'll be equally frank that for the British government, this is the issue of migration is a huge domestic pressure. It's probably the top issue for British voters right now. And the migration pressures as a whole, across the whole of the world, are such on the UK that it's quite difficult for the British government to find a way for any country, and this has been part of this week's discussions and negotiations with the EU, to find a relaxation of visas. That said, we will keep looking at it, we'll keep having the conversation. Business wants it, and I hope, we'll keep you in touch with how that progresses. But there are a lot of arguments for, and I do understand from ordinary citizens that the visa regime is one of the big things that they want to see changed. Your government raises it every time they come to London. I'm expecting them to raise it again every time they come to London. So let's keep talking about it.
EU integration of Macedonia is blocked. Mm-hmm. And do you think that the government is, in these circumstances, is using or trying to present these arguments, these arrangements, to be more precise, with London, as some kind of, I would say, substitute for EU accession? Because we've seen talks and also the reactions from the opposition that this kind of moves by the government concerning the loans, not concerning the strategic partnership, shows that the government is not so pro-EU oriented now.
Again, it's a great question. So just to be absolutely clear, British policy on EU accession for this country is unchanged. We fully support it. We are fully in favour of it. In private, we regularly discuss it. And we're here to help with any aspect of that. Between the United Kingdom government and North Macedonia, as I've said, the primary driver for the economic component of this new partnership, which is the G2G, is essentially about trade and investment already with a really significant bilateral trade partner. So there's no real a choice between one or the other. It's absolutely possible for this country to move forward on its EU accession path, and the British government absolutely hopes that that will happen as soon as possible. On the other hand, it's equally possible to have government-to-government agreements with individual EU partners within and member states within the EU. So there's no choice between the Brits and the rest here. What we have and what we're focusing on is this fantastic trade relationship. We've got scores of great British businesses here. We've got a new business association set up, and this was about a step change to take that and the investment partnership to the next level. And that's really what this is about.
So, to put it simply, you're saying do business with us, but also continue with the political reforms and the political path towards European Union.
Absolutely, that's right. And that's what we regularly discuss with the government. There's no false choice. And we very much hope that this country will be a full member of the European Union soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for your time.